Okay, good morning, everybody. I think I might have lied to you last week when I said I'll see you next week because I'm not actually going to see you this week, but I promise I will see you next week, face to face, live, in person. It will be very exciting. But this week I am in Comfort, Texas, near Bernie, and I am going to send a video, so I'll see you guys next week. Okay, so there's 3 lessons this week, and then there is the practice test. So we're going to try to get through all of that. Okay, the first one is, I think it's 5.2.1 is how it goes, but and it's about inequalities. So this is number 2 from the homework. We're just going to do an example. Y is less than or equal to 2x. Oh, I don't want to do that one. Hold on. Let's change just a second. We're going to do number 1. Just kidding. Okay, y is less or greater than negative x plus 1 squared plus 5. Okay, so the first thing you do is graph it. And I picked this one because it's easy to graph. So this is in vertex form. So the vertex is to the left 1 and up 5. So to the left 1 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The vertex, this means it's going to reflect, so it's going to go down. So I don't know if you remember, I said you do over 1, down 1, over 2, down 4, over 3, down 9. So it's just a good way to always remember how to graph. So it's over 1, 1, 1, 2, 4, 3, 9. Because 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9. Uh-oh. Okay, so now I have a little sketch. So then in order to decide where you're going to shade, because we have inequality, so it means you're going to shade somewhere, I always test the ordered pair 0, 0. So you put the ordered pair 0, 0 in and see if it makes it true. So if I take this and I put 0 in for x, so is 0 greater than negative 0 plus 1 squared plus 5? Okay, so 0 plus 1 is 1, squared is 1, so negative 1 plus 5 is 4. So is 0 greater than 4? No. That is not true. So that means I'm not going to shade where this point is. I'm going to shade everything else. So basically you're either shading inside the parabola or outside the parabola. So I tested the ordered pair 0, 0. Now if that had been true, I would have shaded where that is. I would have shaded inside. So let's say that I have a graph that looks like this. And I test the ordered pair 0, 0 and it's true. Well, then I would shade all of this. If I test the ordered pair 0, 0 and it's not true, then I would shade all of this. So you either shade where the point is or you shade where the point isn't, if that makes sense. Now, can we do all of this on our calculator? You bet we can. You bet we can. So, hold on. Okay, so you would need to open your calculator and go to Y1, and then you're going to arrow all the way over to the left. And this one would be the up triangle. Remember, there's the up triangle and the down triangle. We did those before. So take a minute and make sure everyone can do this in their calculator. Okay? So you would type it in exactly like this. So either way, by hand or calculator, you test the point 0, 0. That is 5.2.1. Next little lesson is 5.2. That's not a 5. 5.2.2, I think, and it is about curve fitting. Okay, anytime you see curve fitting, that is the stat function on your calculator. So we did this when we did linear curve fitting. You're going to do the same thing for quadratic curve fitting. I can't do my calculator on this app that I'm using today, so I'm just going to remind y'all, and then I want y'all to pause, and as a little collective group, I want you to figure it out. So this is number 5 on the homework. Okay, so it's 3 ordered pairs: 0, 1, 2, -1, and 3, -8. Okay, so it says write a quadratic for these ordered pairs. So you're going to do stat, edit, and then you're going to go to L1 and L2. And in L1, you're going to put 0, 2, and 3. Those are the values of x. In L2, you're going to put 1, -1, -8. Those are the values for y. Okay, then you hit stat, calc, arrow over to calc. Okay, now 4 was linear regression. Which one do you think you're going to use this time? Yep, 5, quad reg. Okay, and then it's going to give you an answer. Y, it's going to say y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, and then it's going to tell you a, b, c. Okay, so that's curve fitting, it's making a model. Any of that is all of the stat function on your calculator. Okay, so double check that y'all know how to do that. Here I'm going to give y'all one more problem that y'all can try together collectively as a little group. This is number 7 on your homework. The ordered pairs are -4, 9, 0, -7, and 1, -1. Okay, so those are some for y'all to try. Excellent. Moving along. The last one, I'm guessing, is 5.2.3, is about operations with complex numbers. So if you remember last week, we said real numbers are like 3. Imaginary numbers are 4i. Complex number is 3 plus 4i. Okay, so a plus bi is how it's written. This is the real part, the imaginary part, and together it's complex. Okay, so operations with complex numbers, we treat the I kind of like you would treat a variable, always remembering that I squared equals -1. So if I have 4 plus 3i plus 6 minus 2i, then you just combine like terms. So 4 plus 6 is 10, 3i and -2i is 1i. Okay, so it's just like you would treat it as if it was an x. Also, if I subtract that, this is where they get you. 4 plus 3i minus 6 minus 2i. Okay, this minus sign is in front of a parenthesis, so what does that mean? Yes, it's going to go to everything inside the parentheses. Bonus points if you know which math property that is. It starts with a D. It's distribute. Remember my hashtag dubdistrib, except this is just single distrib. 4 plus 3i minus 6 minus minus makes plus 2i. So then I combine like terms again, and I get -2 plus 5i. Okay? Now, we can also multiply those together. So, let's say, I don't remember what I had, but 4 plus 2i times 6 plus 3i. Okay? So this hashtag, oh, I misspelled it. Hold on. Dub distrib. Because you're going to double distribute. So 4 times 6, you're going to do that, and then this. 4 times 6 is 24. 4 times 3i is 12i. 2i times 6 is 12i. 2 times 3 is 6. I times I is I squared. Okay, what is I squared? -1. What is 6 times -1? -6. Okay, so then I have 24 plus 24i minus 6, so minus 18 plus 24i. Okay, now here's something fun. If one is positive and one is negative, things get really interesting. They're called complex conjugates. So if I have 7 plus 2i times 7 minus 2i. Okay, so these are two complex numbers. They're complex conjugates. One is plus, one is minus. I might have talked about those last week. I'm going to dub distrib. 49 plus 14, minus 14i plus 14i minus 4i squared. Okay, remember, what is I squared? Negative 1. What is 4? Negative 4 times negative 1 plus 4. Okay, these cancel. So then I have 49 plus 4 is 53. Okay, I love it. I love how you can have a complex number and I, and if it's a complex conjugate and you multiply it together, you get just the real part, 53. It's magic. Okay, there is an I button on your calculator. Find it right now. You can type this in your calculator and it will give you the answer. Okay, there's an I button on your calculator. You could type this exact thing in and it will tell you what the answer is. So find the little I button. It's like a little cursive. That's not how it looks like. It's like a little cursive looking I, lowercase I. Did you show it to a friend? Everyone knows where it is on the calculator? Awesome. Okay, now we're going to do the practice test for chapter 5. So if someone could pass those out, if y'all have the printed copies. If not, oops, and y'all can just write this down. But we're going to do the practice tests. Here we go. Okay, determine the direction determine the direction in which the graph of the function. Okay, so this starts with a negative, so it's going to be upward. Okay, identify the axis of symmetry of this function. Okay, so let's see. Oh, I'm silly. Guys, it's negative, so that means it does what? It opens downward. Thanks for catching that. Okay, identify the axis of symmetry. So I don't know if I said this, but when you have a function in standard form, the way you find the vertex is negative b over 2a. Okay, is the x part of the vertex. So in this case, negative 1 over 2 times negative 1. So that's a whole lot of negatives. So 2 of these negatives make a positive, but we still have a negative down here. So x is negative 1/2 a. So once again, this finds you the x of the vertex, negative b over 2a. Okay, so same thing here, identify the vertex. So negative b over 2 times a. So in this case, that's negative 10 over negative 4. Which is 2.5. So then you plug x 2.5, so negative 2 times 2.5 squared plus 10 times 2.5 plus 1. And then you calculate that, and you get this, C. Okay, find the domain and range of this function. Okay, remember the domain is going to be always all real numbers because it goes to the left and to the right infinitely many times. In infinitely directions. So then we just need to find the lowest point in the vertex. Okay, so we would do negative 6 over 2 times 2. So that would be 6 over 4, which is 3/2. So the x part of the vertex is 3/2. So if I plug that in, I would do 2 times 3/2 squared minus 6 times 3/2 minus 9 to get the y part of the vertex. And when you do that, after the calculating is over, you get negative 13.5. And so the answer is A, because it's going to look like this, and this lowest point right here is negative 13.5. So y is everything greater than that, all numbers above 13.5. X is everything because it goes in both directions out infinitely long. Okay? Number 5. Identify the zeros of the function, so that means we're solving it. So you factor it however you want to do it. This one is only 2 terms and they both have an x. So I'm going to factor out an x and I get x plus 2. Then I set them both equal to 0. So my answer is 0 and negative 2. Okay. Identify the roots. This is the same thing. Oh, using factoring. So we will factor this. Okay, so what are the factors of 4 that make negative 4? Okay, that's not too hard. Negative 4 and negative 2 and negative 2. I don't want to do that. Okay, so then I set them both equal to 0, so x minus 2 equals 0. X minus 2 equals 0, so x equals 2, x equals 2. That's actually called a double root when it's the same number twice. So x equals 2, but little fun vocab for you, double root. Okay, identify the quadratic function in standard form that has the zeros negative 2 and 8. Okay, so x is negative 2, x is 8. So I move those over and turn them into factors. So x plus 2 and x minus 8. So I just got them equal to 0. And then I distrib. X squared minus 8x plus 2x minus 16. X squared minus 6x minus 16. X squared minus 6x minus 16. The answer is C. Okay, a golf ball is hit from ground level with initial velocity of 80 feet per second. Use the function where h is the height of the golf ball. With initial vertical velocity from initial height after t seconds. Find the time is when it hit the ground. Whew. Okay, so the graph looks something like this. Golf ball was hit on the ground. When did it land? Is basically what they're asking us. So they give us this equation, and the equation is negative 16t squared plus, okay, v sub o is the height of the golf ball. Let's see. Oh, height of the golf ball, the initial velocity, and the initial velocity is 80, because it said that in the problem, and then the initial height in this case was 0, right? Because it said it was hit from the ground, like not off a ledge or off a tee or anything. So it hit from the ground. So how long did it take for it to land? So I would go to your graph, and your calculator, and put this in y1 and see how long it took. Let's see, we could also maybe, because we only have 2 terms, because we don't have this last term, we could factor out a t. Maybe we could factor out something else. Let's see. 16 and 80, what do they both have in common? An 8, right? Is that it? I'm doing a little... Ooh, they're both divisible by 16. Sweet. Okay, so negative 16t squared plus 80t. I can factor out a 16t out of both of these. I can factor out a negative 16t. So negative 16t, I'm left with t plus 5. Oops, t minus 5. Okay, so I'm basically doing what I did up here, because they did the third term, was a 0, so I didn't have to mess with it. So then I have, I set these both equal to 0. So negative 16t equals 0 and t minus 5 equals 0. So you divide by negative, so t can equal 0 and t can equal 5. So this is 0 and this is 5. This is a pretty nice simple equation. So when did it land? It landed after 5 seconds. So I just plugged in the information it gave me, realized that I didn't have a C term, so I could factor out something from both terms. These both had a negative 16t in common, so that's what it did. Okay, complete the square, identify the resulting. Okay, so we're going to take this middle term, 11, we're going to divide it by 2 and square it. So I get 121 divided by 4. Okay, so all of them, so I can get rid of this one and this one because they didn't square the bottom number. Then, let's see, would I be adding it or subtracting it? You're always adding it, because can you be subtracting it? No, because when you square a number, it becomes positive. So my only answer choice is that one. Excellent. Okay, number 10. Which of the following represents the function in vertex form? Okay, so we can do a couple of things. We can do negative b over 2a to get the vertex. So let's do that. Or you could graph them and see which ones match. That would work too. But let's do this. So negative 18 over 2 times 3 is negative 18 over 6, which is negative 3. So it has to either be it has to be B or D. So then we'd plug in negative 3, so 3 times negative 3 squared plus 18 times negative 3 plus 5. Remember, when I do negative 3 squared, that's going to be positive 9. So then 27 plus 8, let's see. Calculate in your head. You're going to multiply those and then add it all together, and you get negative 22. So that was fun. So, hold on, let me make sure that's right. Oh yeah, because 18 times negative 3 is 54. So minus 54 plus 5. You get negative 22. So there's the answer. Answer is B. Okay, number 11. Express negative 99 in terms of I. Okay, so I'm going to first split this up into 99 and negative 1. Negative 1 is I squared. Remember, so there's going to be, one of the answers is going to have an I. Now, as far as this, we want to pull out something that is a perfect square. And in this case, we have a 9 and an 11. So I can take the square root of 9, which is 3. So essentially, at this moment right here, we have the square root of 9 times the square root of 11 times the square root of I squared. Okay, so I've just broken it all up into factors. Does that make sense? I'm going to write this one better. Okay, so the square root of 9 is 3. The square root of I squared is I. The 11 has to stay inside the house because you can't simplify it. So my answer is C. Okay, identify the value of x and y that make the equation true. Okay, so I would just plug in the choices until you get one that's right. So let's start with A. So 2 times 8 plus 5i is 16 plus 5i. And then 16 plus 2 times 5 halves I is 16 plus 5i. Oh, we were so lucky. So answer choice A was correct. See, because these both matched. If not, you would try them all. If you had time, you should try them all just to make sure. But that one worked. Okay, identifying using the quadratic formula. So remember, opposite b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, so in this case, a is 2, b is negative 2, c is 13. I always like to identify all of them. So negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 2 squared. Remember, it doesn't matter that it's negative here because it's going to be squared. Minus 4 times 2 times 13 all over 2 times 2. So negative is 2 plus or minus the square root of, okay, so 4 minus, let's see, 4 times 2 times 13 is 104. So 4 minus 104 is 100. Okay, so I have a negative square root, so I know my answer is going to have an I in it. So 2, I'm running out of room. 2 plus or minus 10i over 4. Okay, so these are both divisible by 4, so I'm going to go ahead and simplify them. So 1/2 plus or minus 5i over 2. So the answer is C. Okay. Okay, identify the number and type of solutions for number 14. Okay, so you can look at just the determinant, which is just the part underneath here, and it's going to tell you what kind of solutions it's going to have, because if it's negative, you're going to have non-real solutions. So if I do just the determinant, so b squared, so 1 squared minus 4 times 2 times 11. Okay, so 1 minus 4 times 2 times 11 is 88. So negative 87. So if I have a negative underneath there, I know that my answers are going to be non-real. That should have been something y'all talked about in one of the lessons. But using the determinant to, not the determinant, the discriminant. Too many words too close together. The discriminant is what this is. And you will help you find out what kind of solutions they're going to be. You can also graph this. And if it never touches the x-axis, then they're going to be non-real solutions. Almost done. Okay, identify the graph of the inequality. So once again, we can do several different things. You can do this on your calculator, but let's test the ordered pair 0, 0 and see if we should shade in the middle or not. Okay, so if I put is 0 greater than or equal to 0 squared minus 5 times 0 minus 2. So 0 squared is 0. So negative 5 minus 2 is negative 7. Is 0 greater than negative 7? Yes, it is. 0 is greater than negative 7. So we want to shade wherever 0, 0 is. Is it going to face up or down? It's going to face up because there's no negative. So it can't be this one. Can't be this one. It has to be one of these. And we tested 0, 0 and 0, 0 was correct. So the answer is C. We wanted to shade where 0, 0 was. Okay, next. Solve the inequality. Okay, so basically what you're doing here is you're it's like this, except for your answer you just want to see what is on the x-axis. So is this the same question? Because if it is, that's awesome. No, it's not. So but if I was doing this one, you would just look at these points right here, and that's basically you're saying let's graph it, and then I want to just look at the x-axis. So let's do that. Okay, I'm going to do it down here. So to solve the inequality, first we need to move this 5 over. So x squared plus 3x minus 10. So we're going to factor it. Factors of 10 that make 3, plus 5 minus 2. So x is negative 5 and x is 2. So if I go to graph that, okay, and it's going to look something like this. Okay, and this is negative 5 and this is 2. Okay, so now I need to know, am I shading inside or outside? So is 0, 0 an ordered pair that is correct or not? Okay, so use here and set it equal. So then I would have 0 squared plus 3 times 0 minus 10. Oh, is that greater than 0? So I should have had a greater than sign. Is that greater than 0? So that's 0. That's 0. So is negative 10 greater than 0? No, it is not. So I'm not shading on the inside. I'm shading on the outside. So then I just came and I just look at my x-axis. So my x-axis is shaded less than negative 5. So x is less than negative 5 because it's shaded this way. And it's shaded x is greater than 2. So basically you're taking the whole thing and you're just looking like a number line, like just at the x-axis. So the answer is A. So we solved it, and then we looked at where to shade it, and then we look at just the x-axis, and that's where the solution is. Okay, identify the quadratic function that fits these points. I'm not going to give you the answer, but we know that we're going to use stat in our calculator, and that's how you're going to solve that one. Graph the complex number. So we didn't do this, but negative 3 is on the x-axis, and the 2i is on the y-axis. So it's the real axis and the imaginary axis. The answer is D. Because there's your, so negative 3, negative 2i. It's kind of like just the idea of x and y, but this is the x-axis and this is the y-axis. Okay, identify the difference. So we're going to subtract. So we have to distribute the negative. So 4 minus I, and then I'm going to distribute this negative. So that's plus I plus 2I. So 5 plus I. Answer choice is C. See what I did there? Those make me laugh every time. Okay, identify the quotient. So let's see. You're going to take this one and multiply by the complex conjugate. So 5 minus 8i divided by 3 plus 2i. We have to get the I out of the denominator. So we do that by multiplying by 3 minus 2i. And if I multiply the denominator by something, I have to multiply the numerator by something, because that's just how it works, because we can't change the value of one without changing the other. Because really I'm multiplying by 1, because this 3 minus 2i over 3 minus 2i is just 1. Okay, so I'm going to double distribute both places. So 5 times 3 is 15. 5 times negative 2i is negative 10i. Negative 8i times 3 is negative 24i. Negative 8 times negative 2 is positive 16i squared. Okay, and then the bottom, you're going to do the same thing. 3 times 3 is 9. I know that I'm going to have plus 4i minus 4i, and those are going to cancel. And then I'm going to have 2 times negative 2, negative 4i squared. Okay, so now let's simplify things. First, the I squareds are negative 1, so that's going to make this negative 16, and this positive 4. Because if I have negative 4 times negative 1, that's positive 4. So in the numerator I have 13, in the denominator I have 13. In the numerator I have 15 minus 16 is -1 minus 34i. So I can split that up into two separate equations, -1 over 13 minus 34i over 13. So my answer is D. Done. Okay, and you can check that in your calculator to see if we were right along the way. Okay, so that was chapter 5. Chapter 5 is a booger. It's the first one that gets into a whole lot of algebra 2. So hopefully you are ready for the test, and when you take it, you do well. That would be great. I will see you guys next week, for sure. For sure. Anyway, you just take the practice test this week. You won't take the real actual test until the following week. So you have time to ask me questions next week in class before you take the actual test. So any of these that you didn't know, put a big star by them, and we will discuss them in person in real life before you take the test. Okay, bye guys.